is all fired up now that his debut album, Kentucky Gold, is finally out. We found Kyle in his hometown of Bowling Green, Kentucky, a place he tells us that has quite the musical history.
Give me some of that good stuff.
Rich music scene, man. We had a ton of giants come out of the area. One of the most notable, Cage the Elephant. We all played high school football together, and they went on to be rock and roll superstars. And yeah, we all kind of grew up in the same bar here called Tid Balls and Blackstone Cherries from right up the road. So it's just, man, big music town. You know, Western Kentucky University's here, so college town, and yeah, man, lots of rich music history here in Bowling Green.
Yep, and you've been adding to it. You've been doing a lot of stuff working up to this debut album, which finally is out. But it's not like you've been sitting around doing nothing. So before we get into the album, just touch on some of the things you've done in the past to get you to where you are now.
Man, you know, it's been a long road. In 2019, I actually toured. We did 185 dates going into COVID, and then obviously the world kind of pressed pause, and I ended up cutting the majority of the record down in Muscle Shoals in the fall of 2020. And so you know, I think COVID did a lot of different things for a lot of different people. For me, it got me married and turned me into a daddy. So that's been a full-time job in itself. But you know, I've been playing guitar for some different folks, kind of just waiting patiently on my turn to let this stuff come out. So you know how it goes.
Yeah, because I was just watching a trailer that was on your YouTube channel that was made like 3 or 4 years ago announcing the new record.
Yeah,
And
man.
now it's finally out.
That's right. That's right.
So fantastic. So it must be, so how do you feel about it finally making it? What did you do on the 19th? Anything exciting? Did you celebrate?
Yeah, man. I had a full day. Actually, you know, was lucky enough to wake up that morning, and Entertainment Focus in the UK had written up a very nice 5-star review on the record. And so that got me emotional right out of the gate that day, because, you know, this is something that it's intellectual property. It's close to your heart. It's close to your soul. It comes off your, you know, being. And so I didn't necessarily think that I would wake up and feel any different on Friday, that I figured it would probably just be another day. But man, I was showered with love. I had a high school reunion.
Nice.
We had a listening party at Tid Balls, my favorite bar. That's where I grew up playing, and it was nice to celebrate with a bunch of friends and family. And my buddies, the Damn Shames, played that night. So we ended up having a couple adult beverages and having us a good time.
Good on you. Excellent. Yeah, well, it's interesting. So you had interest in the UK. I saw there was a write-up in a French outlet somewhere along the line. Here we are in New Zealand talking about you. It seems like country music has gone universal and global. Do you notice that and country music is also become like the new rock and roll because that's what you're making, really.
Right. And you know, it's become such a hybrid genre. I think that and I think that that's a good thing for a lot of respects, just because it opens up the door and brings in new fans based on that. You know, somebody may have a more pop approach or a more rock approach or what have you. And if that brings somebody to the country music world, awesome. You know, I think that it's, because at one point, you know, everybody was kind of like, I remember when Beyonce put her material out, everybody was like, what do you think about Beyonce? And I was like, I think it's great.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's great because that's turning on an entirely new demographic to country music. So like, I think anything that can be done like that is pretty cool.
And of course, Southern rock's been around forever. I mean, I'm old enough to have bought, you know, Eat a Peach when it came out. So
yeah, man.
Marshall Tucker Band, all that, Charlie Daniels Band, all those guys.
Oh yeah, I was lucky enough to actually tour with Marshall Tucker Band and with Charlie Daniels. Didn't get to do that. You know, Gregg Allman was my hero, and I never got to. I got to meet Gregg a couple of times.
Well, that's all right.
But no, I didn't get to open up for him. So you know,
Yeah.
And
So what was it that connected you with that music?
I'll never forget my dad. I was 12 years old. We were at my house in town that I grew up in, and we were sitting on the back porch, and I think we had just gotten done doing some like yard work, and he was firing up the grill, and he had just installed like some outdoor speakers, and I'll never forget it. My old man just looked at me and he said, "Son, this is real music." And he hit play, and you hear, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Allman Brothers Band," and they tear into Statesboro Blues. And when I heard that slide guitar, dude, it changed my life. It just spoke to me. I think that it was almost so vocal and melodic, with such primal like undertones to it, but it was also so like controlled at the same time. And it was just I was a big like Stevie Ray Vaughan fan, so I loved that kind of vibe. And man, when the Allman Brothers, when I found them, it was like, this is it. Like, I want to do just this, because I was lucky enough to actually see the Allman Brothers over 50 times.
Oh man,
and I don't,
that's hardcore.
I don't look old enough to be able to have seen the Allman Brothers 50 times, but I definitely did. And in many different formations, with Dickie, with Warren, with Derek, with some fill-ins here and there. And man, it was something about the jam aspect of what they did, and being able to like really create a moment on the fly. With improvisation. It blew my brains out, and I couldn't get enough of it. And so that's definitely the Allman Brothers are definitely my number one influence, and anybody that knows me from Bowling Green or otherwise would probably tell you the exact same.
Yeah, sadly we lost Dickie Betts just a little while ago, didn't we? Yeah.
I know, man.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
Yeah. And they're great players, and they weren't just playing country rock. I mean, In Memory of Elizabeth Reed is almost a jazz tune, So
right.
it's pretty. So there's a lot to dig into there. And speaking of your dad was a banjo player, right?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, and you got the song "Me and My Old Man" with the video with all these old home movies and stuff. That must have been something to put together.
He knew just what was best for me, that I was different from the rest. That's what he believed. He showed me wrong from right. Don't back down from a fight, 'cause the real dream never needs a backup plan. We both built the common ground where I still stand. Me and my old man.
Yeah, man, it was great. I was fortunate enough because my management team actually sifted through all of the photography, videography, and just old VHS tapes. They're sitting there siphoning through old VHS home videos, and so it was nice. And when they got it done, I was like, man, and it definitely pulls on your heartstrings for sure.
Yeah. So give me a little backstory about the record itself. Why has it taken this long to actually release the thing? Because it sounds like you said, you started recording it just post-pandemic. Is that right?
Yeah, and it, honestly, wasn't the greatest. Now, I didn't obviously know this at the time, but it wasn't the greatest of times to be trying to pitch material as a new artist, as a new, record, because everybody was worried about what they had.
Right.
And so the one good thing that came out of this entire scenario was my upgrade in patience. And it's been a long road, man. It was definitely something that at times I've felt like maybe it'll never see the light of day. Maybe this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. Maybe I should be looking at something else for my life. But at the end of the day, this is all I've ever done. This is what I've known, and it's what's important to me. And so the powers that be saw it through and was able to secure a record deal in 2023. And here we are.
And here we are. Yep. So you got 12 tunes, all originals, but all co-writes as well. So do you like writing with others? How does that process work for you?
Yeah, I mean, Nashville's a co-writing town.
Right.
Definitely. And I went to Middle Tennessee State University. I got a degree in music business. I took enough courses to probably have a minor in songwriting, but I love songwriting. And I think that the thing that I love the most about it is not necessarily the need or the feeling that I had to have somebody hold my hand, but it was more so I love the human interaction. I love and while this is fine, I would much rather sit with you and talk to you in person over a beer.
Yep.
And create a moment. While this could also still be a moment, there's a screen between us, and that just doesn't. It was kind of like during COVID. Everybody was doing the lives and whatnot, and I did a couple of them, and finally I was like, I can't do this to myself, because it's like you're sitting in a room and everybody's watching you, but you can't hear anybody watch you. Like they can't cheer for you. It's just it was very awkward,
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
I like bouncing ideas off of other writers, and stylistically, I feel like I have a pretty broad palette for music in general. And so it's nice to see different songwriters kind of approach different scenarios differently.
Well, let's talk about the first track, Can't Hold Me Back. You got two other songwriters with you on that one. It leads off the record. It kind of makes a statement, it feels like. You got those drums coming in and a big guitar riff. So how did that come together?
Well, I bet you never thought you'd see me again. Well, I guess you're wondering where the hell I've been. When the going gets tough, the tough get to going. And man, I keep proving that. Can't hold me back, won't bring me down. You ought to know by now you can't knock me out.
So this was the last song that was actually recorded for the record. It was recorded in December.
Oh my God.
And we wrote it in December. It was the craziest way I've ever written and recorded a song, because I show up, hit songwriter Clay Mills is on the song, and so I go to his house in Nashville, and we pull up Michael Krampus on the big screen TV. We write the song via Zoom, and half in person, half in Zoom, whatever. Right. And he says, "Hey man," he says, "why don't you just send me an acoustic vocal with a click track, and I'll build a track around it." And I said, "All right, cool." So we did that, and what you hear is what he put together. And he brought it back.
Really?
And then I put all the electric guitars on it again. I kind of, I did what I needed to do to play to the band at that point, and sang the song to the band, and so to speak. And what you hear is what we came up with, man. Is I've never done a long distance recording like that, but it came out real well.
Nice. And you got some people helping out, like Maggie Rose and the Cadillac 3, and Sarah Zimmerman and Kendall Marvell. They're not exactly household names down this part of the world. Who are they?
So Kendall is a #1 hit songwriter, writes a lot of songs for Brothers Osborne.
All right.
Has the Honky Tonk Experience, which is like a monthly show that he does over at Exit In, where he'll bring in anybody from like Marcus King to Tyler Bryant, the Rival Sons, Daniel Donato. He brings in kind of local but rising, and sometimes even like nationally touring acts.
Right.
Jaron Johnston is the lead singer of the Cadillac 3, who's probably got over 20 #1 hit songs himself, with Tim McGraw, Carrie Underwood, Keith Urban, you name it. The dude is a triple threat, being the rock star that he is, the writer that he is, and as well as the producer he is. And then Maggie is a soul singer from Nashville who has gained a lot of traction over the past little bit.
Yep.
great performer, great writer, sweetheart of a person. And then Sarah Zimmerman is in a group called Striking Matches.
Right.
And she is a smoking slide guitar player. So
Ah,
I felt like
okay.
all of these guys would, they found their way into the record for a good reason.
Right. And the one that Sarah's on is called Everybody's Talking, not the old
Yep.
Harry Nilsson tune, but something more politically minded, isn't it?
Talking about change, talking about the weather, talking ain't ever gonna make it any better. Words ain't worth a dime, it's time to start walking. Nobody hears a thing, 'cause everybody's talking.
It's a shame that that song and the closer on the record, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but
No,
it's
that's
a
all right.
shame that both of those are still relevant today.
Yep.
Because the majority of both of those songs were actually written prior to the original recording session. So, which that happened late 2020.
Right.
So both of those were without taking a hard stand. I think it was more of an assessment of where we are.
Yeah.
And that still being able to ring true 4 years later is semi embarrassing, that we're still in that situation, I think that we often, and especially as Americans, I heard today, because they're going through all the trials and this, that, and the other. I mean, it's everywhere. We're enamored with it right now.
Yep.
You can't go anywhere from it. But they were talking about the people of America need to feel hope again, like there is something better on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that we felt like we have just simply been picking between the lesser of two evils. A lot of people are going to claim like, oh, well, I lean all this way or I lean all that way. But at the end of the day, if they had another choice, I think the majority of those people would probably pick someone different.
Right.
And so now we're seeing that getting shook up. And I mean,
It is indeed.
It's about to get interesting, So.
Yep. Yeah, it is interesting. There's no question about that. That's an
right.
understatement. Well,
only us, though. Only us.
So with that in mind, what does it feel like where you're right in the heart of, Kentucky and Nashville and all that? I mean, there's all sorts of sides. Does it feel divided, or does it feel like people want to come together?
I think there's a need for it. I think that there has been such a wedge put in between us, and I think that we have been so polarizing in the way that we've handled all of this, and it just to me, I think that everyone is fairly set in their beliefs.
Yeah.
And I think that it's going to take someone that can really unify the country, that really means it, that maybe crosses the line, and says, hey, look, I know that you're not this or that, but I think I can do this better than so-and-so, and they bring them across the line. I think that that's what it's going to end up taking. But, it's always been, Democrats and Republicans, and it's always been one side or the other. And I don't know that we're ever going to get rid of that, because I think that that's what our, Constitution and our democracy was built upon. But I also think that I think we're in dire need for another JFK. We're in dire need for a Martin Luther King. We're in need for someone to bring the people together.
But you know what happened with those two?
Right. Yeah. Unbelievable. But it's like, but I think that the youth, the zest, the power in the words, the conviction in the things that they said is something that we're in need of.
Yeah.
Because I think that we've all kind of felt like there's just been a bunch of lip service for the past 4, 8, 12 years, I mean, where you could date it back, and it's like, I know a lot of people are kind of going like, it hadn't been the same since Obama. And like, That was a long time ago. Dude.
That was a
And
long time
so,
ago.
we just, I guess we're going to do the best we can,
Right.
and my hope is that, these songs in 2 years, 4 years are not as relevant.
Yeah,
as
because
they
you
are
did
now.
close out the album with a song called Divided We Are. So, I mean, obviously that was on your mind when you're putting together the set or the track listing.
'Cause we're all dying just to live here in this place. But it seems we separate a little more with every day. Behind the faded stripes and fallen stars, together we stand. Divided we are.
Yeah, and it's funny because that song, I wrote that with Adam Wright from Carnival Music, and Adam is a beautiful human being. I love the guy through and through. He's a phenomenal songbird. He writes in a way that each song almost becomes this like stream of consciousness thing for him.
Right.
And so he just kind of takes off a lot of times.
Right.
And I often find myself just kind of a fly on the wall, like a stenographer in the courtroom or something, just taking notes and like trying to keep up with what he says. But that song starts out with a paraphrasing of what's written on the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because it was like, man, that's where it started, like we got to get back to that. We have to get back to the principles and the things. And, because and I don't want to, obviously, I'm not a political guy. I'm not that guy. You're not going to find me on social media taking a stand, right? Yeah. You're not going to find me at a show ranting or raving about anything like that, right? Because I don't feel like, A, it's not my place, right? And B, someone somewhere is going to get turned off by what I have to say, no matter what I say.
That's a fact.
And so it's best that I just kind of keep it chill. And I think for me, it's observations, that like a lot of this is just sad realities from my perspective of like what has happened,
Right. Now, you mentioned Adam Wright. You also co-wrote a song called Running From Me with him, which is more intimate and personal, it feels like.
Well, every time that the going got good, I went and let them all down. Started all over with a chip on my shoulder, and you see where I'm at right now. I kept thinking I was born to lose. They were all racing win. So I went along and kept doing wrong just to prove them all right again. Yeah, fire red line into the bottom of the bottle. Took a long time to see. Thought I was running from the heart of the problem, but I was just running from me.
He's one of those cats. I think that he probably wrote like 6 or 7 of the tracks actually on the record with me. And the dude is just, again, I love creating with him because every time I do, it's like we dive deep into these moments and it's almost like he turns them into such a conversation that strikes with me almost every time. Every single time I get with him, we come out with something that I feel like, well, here's another record cut, here's another one I want to use. Like, so I love that.
So have you ever been down to this part of the world, Australia or New Zealand or any of these?
I have not just yet. I have not. Yeah, I have not just yet, but I plan on checking that off the old bucket list here.
Good idea. Yeah. Do you play in Europe? Because I mean, with the following you seem to have generated with this record in the UK and France, it seems like there's an audience for you over there. Have you mined that gold mine yet?
Yeah, I'm actually headed over there in 3 weeks for a 3-week tour. I'm going to be all over the UK, going to be in Germany, going to France for some PR potentially at the end of the tour. So yeah, definitely playing into that. I found that it definitely resonates across the pond.
Sure.
And it resonates differently than it does in America. I feel more seen and heard in that neck of the woods. So it's nice to.
Do you think that's because over there they may have fewer immediate like when they see and hear you speak, other Americans, depending on where they're from, are going to make immediate judgments about who you are and what you think. Whereas maybe those are different, in France.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, and I mean, some of that stuff is like, it doesn't matter if I'm in New York City or Paris, France. They're like, "Who's this redneck?" But it's yeah, man. I think that it just comes down to a cultural thing. I think it comes down to a entertainment thing. I think that overseas, you don't catch people on their cell phone. You don't catch people talking loudly. You don't catch people videoing the entire show. Like, it's just, we have become, it's the land of the free and home of the brave. But a lot of times it's like, we've kind of turned into this like culture of like, we do what we want. And it's kind of off-putting to entertainers when people just act like they don't care. I think that the care factor is exponentially different, and the respect level that you get is something that you look for when you're an entertainer.
Right. It feels and sounds like you're kind of treading lightly to, I mean, but not just you, everyone is, to be able to do what you want to do, but still, not offend and get your word out and just,
yeah, man,
it's crazy out there.
Yeah, it is.
It's a whole different
really
world.
is, man. Yeah, I know. And a whole different world than even pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Which was, because like I said, I did 185 dates in 2019 and then it shut down. And it's like, dude, I haven't done 20 dates as Kyle Daniels since 2019.
Yeah.
So, and that's just unbelievable, really. Yep. And I was talking to somebody earlier. It's like I'm going through my material right now. I've been playing with other people and doing other things. And it's like, really fires me up to come back to these songs. Go, man, we did some cool stuff on these songs. So it's nice.
Yeah. Well, just ask yourself, what would Gregg Allman do?
That's right. That's right. We're just gonna skip all the addiction eras and get past that. And
there was that spaghetti dinner in the face, and that didn't go well. But
yeah, right.
We all have our moments.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Fingers crossed, I don't have one of those.
Well, because you can bet that the video will be online within seconds.
Oh yeah, instantaneously. Right. Canceled.
Right. Very good. All right. Well, thank you for sharing this time with me. I appreciate it. Good luck with the record and the tour and all that stuff. And we hope to see you down here sometime.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Righto. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.